Hello, I'm Alex Gorriaran, one of your hosts for the JWU Explore from Home video podcast series. We want to welcome you back for this university-wide initiative as we highlight the expertise of some of our faculty and alumni and how their experiences at JWU have prepared them for their career today. Today's conversation will be focusing on good nutrition and retail innovation and the start of the Magnificent Pie Company. Empanadas, samosas, pierogi, meat pies, every culture and country in the world has a favorite hand pie. And while searching for an easy-to-eat, nutritious food as part of their partnership with the Boston Children's Hospital, Johnson & Wales culinary students, faculty, and recent grads set out to engineer hand pies that captured the world's cuisine. And joining us today, we have a couple of esteemed colleagues. We have Chef TJ Delle, and today, Chef TJ Delle, he is the certified executive chef and assistant dean at Johnson & Wales College of Food Innovation Technology. He earned a bachelor's degree in culinary arts from Johnson & Wales and a master's degree in education. And prior to joining the team at Johnson & Wales, he was executive sous chef at Hay Harbor Country Club in New York. And while at JWU, he spent 12 years as the executive chef of the Flavor Experience in collaboration with Flavor and the Menu magazine. In 2006, he was named the best young chef in the Northeast. So welcome, Chef.
Hi there. Thanks, Alex.
And joining Chef TJ Delle is Shawn Goldrick. Shawn Goldrick is the Senior Director for Patient Support Services at Boston Children's Hospital. He's a graduate of Johnson & Wales University with a culinary and food management degrees, and his passion lies in changing the reputation of hospital food and the hospital dining experience for both patients and their families, and has worked at a number of different hospitals in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and currently leading a team of over 500 employees as the senior director there at Children's Hospital. And Shawn's goal for the hospital is to redefine culinary arts in the healthcare setting by incorporating more local, grass-fed, sustainable, and plant-based food in their recipes and on their menus. So welcome, Shawn, and thank you both for joining us today. Yeah, this is a really unique and exciting project and partnership that Johnson & Wales has with the Boston Children's Hospital. Can you give us an overview of how this partnership came to life?
Sure. I'll jump in there, Alex, and thank you again so much. You know, I want to pay a little bit of homage and tip my hat to Shawn here. As we've had these discussions internally here at Johnson & Wales and how we change the narrative of what we do, and as with the onset of the College of Food Innovation and Technology, and change our vernacular, change how we talk about food, and it not being so center of the plate, even though we do that incredibly well, and we will always do that incredibly well, and redirecting focus on food in other areas, just say, you know, in all the things that food touches, and one of those things is food service in hospitals, and Shawn had the same exact idea at the same exact time. He reached out to us in perfect timing. The conversations kind of just blossomed and started from there. So I do want to pay again, respect and homage to him reaching out as an alum and thinking of Johnson & Wales as he, as you introduced him, looks to redefine hospital food service as well.
Thank you, TJ. I really appreciate that. And part of that journey of really trying to change the paradigm of healthcare food service was reaching back out to Johnson & Wales University about 4 or 5 years ago to get an internship program going at the hospital. Because it's one thing to change the food in a location, but if we can inspire the next generation of culinarians that want to choose healthcare, we felt as though that was important. And once we got that relationship and connected back with the school, we thought, well, we have this retail concept that we need to transition out from a yogurt concept. We looked through the roster of franchises that are out there, and it didn't really fit the needs that we're looking for our patients, families, and our customers around a better for you product, something that's handheld, mobile, on the go, and then global cuisine that really aligns with our diverse population that we have at the hospital. So we thought, let's reach out to Johnson & Wales and see if we can collaborate together, the best in the country. And that's how we got connected on this project.
That's great. So, and it is a pretty unique partnership. And, as the formation of that came the birth of the Magpie company. And so let's talk a little bit about how that came to life and what that really meant for students and the faculty at Johnson & Wales and what their role was in the evolution of this, and then how it impacted and came to life in the hospital.
Sure. We presented with this opportunity. We sat down, which is really the most fun and collaborative and kind of inclusive part of product development and just ideation, putting together these whiteboards, as we call them. And we start putting ideas up there, like, do we want to do a bowl concept? Do we want to do a better for you ... pizza? Because we're hearing handheld, we're hearing mobile, we're hearing on the go. And we started to explore, and as you see on the screen there, different cultures. We knew that Children's Hospital was in Boston is the best in the world. And I will say that, and I'll repay that compliment that Shawn just gave Johnson & Wales. There's thousands and thousands of families and folks that walk through that lobby from all different walks of life and all different cultures on a daily basis. So we didn't want to have too narrow of a concept. So we wanted to, again, be inclusive of all these cultures you're seeing on the screen now. And in our research, we found that every one of these cultures has a has a handheld kind of mobile, food. And it was kind of a light bulb. And that's one of those moments in product development that again is an aha, is an eyebrow raiser. So that's what we landed on. Let's develop a plant-based global, globally inclusive, global pantry type item. And we landed on what we're calling the Magnificent Pie Company, or the Magpie. And if you actually look, do some research on the magpie as the bird, and you'll see in our logo, they're kind of gatherers. They take things from all different areas, bring them back to the nest. So that's what we did, is we took a deep dive into different cultures. We looked at flavor profiles, spices, herbs, and that's what we did. And we created a line of what we're calling the Magpie.
And Shawn, how did the development of Magpie, what did that mean for the hospital and the involvement of students there on the ground, in that retail environment?
Well, it was a great experience, like TJ said, kind of going through the innovation process with whiteboards and really taking a vision and turning it into a concept. And one of the components that we talk about in the hospital is, better for you food versus, the terminology of healthy food. Everybody has a kind of different meaning behind that. And so what the Magpie allows us to do is explain why it's better for you, whether that's plant-based, and then why is that a better product. And one of the elements that I think was tremendous really is the use 30%, I believe, 30% pressed juice as part of the liquid in the dough. So as you saw the imagery there was different colored magpies. It's really based on the juice, not some dye. And that makes it very comfortable and approachable for the consumer to really understand what better for you means. And I know TJ could probably explain a little bit about how the students at Johnson & Wales participated in the creation of this Magpie.
Right. It's our it's a differentiator. If you were to go to a corporation, a company to help develop product, they don't have the 18 to 22-year-old perspective. They don't have they just don't have that leverage, and we do by the abundance. So having the students involved in the ideation process all the way through optimization is a huge, I'll say, differentiator again. It is, and it gives a perspective that maybe my palate is a little bit different, and maybe my connection to food is a little bit different than, say, a Gen Z's perspective. And that, for us, that product is always the same. The student age group. There's a few outliers, of course, but that age group is always consistent. And that perspective is very, very important. So if you were enrolling at Johnson Wales, if you're a current student at Johnson Wales, getting involved in these experiential projects is a huge value add to your education. And to see the product all the way through, I think there's just nothing like it. There's just nothing like that fulfillment and that feeling.
And I would also add, you know, the original plan for the Magnificent Pie Company to launch that retail concept at Children's, it would be staffed by interns. And so from going through that one process, you know, kind of on campus to seeing actually, you know, living at Boston Children's, that was going to be, you know, kind of closing the loop for that experience for those students.
Absolutely. And that's huge. That really is. And when you sit down and you around a conference table and all these conversations just are happening fluidly, and it really is a good feeling as an administrator, as a faculty member, as an educator, to partner with someone so willing to go down that road with you, and as Children's has been.
And I also believe that it's one of those signature moments where it kind of would open up the thought process for the students to look at hospital food differently. As this process went through, we created an amazing product. It doesn't necessarily have to live in a hospital, but really was designed for that. And I think this is one of those signature offerings that starts to change that paradigm, the way people think about hospital food. Because if you were in this process not thinking it was being designed for Boston Children's Hospital, you wouldn't most likely think it was going into a healthcare location.
Sure. Yeah, and I'll finish that that thread since I started with that. You know, not only are we trying to redefine, you know, the way we approach food here at the university, but in healthcare, but across, I won't go down those rabbit holes, but a ton of different industries, product development being one of them, we're growing for the menu, how we source our food, all of those things. But this one in particular is very important with our College of Health and Wellness, our physician's assistant program, occupational therapy doctorate. You know, just the synergies on campus are there. And again, and I'll just keep reiterating, and having a partner like Children's Hospital is a huge win for Johnson & Wales.
Well, and that leads us a little bit to talk about briefly the Nexus team, because I mean, I think speaks to the collaboration that's going on with the hospital, but then really that hands-on experience of the students. Chef, can you briefly tell us about that experience and what that means for students?
Sure. The Food Innovation Nexus, what again, a huge a gem, right, to have on campus, and be affiliated with Johnson & Wales, being our innovation arm. You know, we teach daily. We're in the classroom, we're hands-on with the students. And as projects like this come about, and this is one of many projects that we're working on through the Food Innovation Nexus, but as these projects come about, the product developers, the management team at the Food Innovation Nexus, RISD graduates, Johnson & Wales graduates, their affiliation to healthcare, this group of professionals gets to come in and really do a deep dive on these projects, where it becomes more than just the experience for the student, but bringing the student in, bringing the faculty members in, bringing this diverse group of people together to really bring the project to life. They're bringing it from just say, if I can do it in the classroom, they can bring it directly to Children's Hospital. They can bring it directly to the client, optimize it. And they've been a huge, you know, again, just a good, just a fantastic partner and a fantastic group of folks to have to work with.
And Shawn, let's talk a little bit about your experience when you were a student at Johnson & Wales, and what has really kind of led you and set you up for success. So how did your experience at JWU lead you on your path towards this specialization in changing the reputation of hospital food, and some of the learnings from that while you were at JWU?
Yeah, I had a great experience my 4 years there, as you mentioned, 2 years in culinary, and then the second 2 years in food service management. And I did not go to a vocational school, didn't really have a lot of cooking background. When I went to Johnson & Wales for the site visit, I was really inspired about the labs, the classroom. And I think understanding that it's the top culinary professors, say in the country. And so by joining that and going through all the labs and meeting tremendous professors, it really inspired me to want to do more in the food service industry. And that's one of the reasons why I chose healthcare. I thought as though there was a great opportunity there to take my learning at Johnson & Wales and apply that kind of restaurant quality, top tier quality food, and how do you apply that into a healthcare setting, which has a tremendous mission where you're taking care of sick individuals. And I think that inspiration in the culinary program really got me going towards healthcare and pushing towards how do we make better food in the hospital. And the last 15 years at Boston Children's Hospital, as you already mentioned, it's the #1 pediatric hospital in the country. We like to say in the world. And the reason behind that is there are 10 clinical specialties that get ranked. We're always in the top of those rankings. And that's how the hospital becomes #1. And so over the last 4 or 5 years, we've looked at in food service and saying, okay, it's one thing to do quality food, change the paradigm of what people think about in hospital food service, but can we create the standard for healthcare food service? And that led me back to the discussions that we had with Johnson & Wales. So, top tier education, top talent with the professors. And it just seems like two partnerships, two organizations coming together, creating something very special, and looking forward to our next session to talk about what that looks like as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's certainly a nice segue to that because this partnership is pretty extensive and so much so that we're bringing you back for a second segment to talk about the kitchen of tomorrow. So that's going to be really exciting. So as we close out here, would either of you like to share any last thoughts or advice to our audience? Some of those students that are considering a career path in the culinary or influencing the hospital field in terms of the culinary palettes that are out there. Any last thoughts or advice you want to share with some of those prospective students?
I would just say the food service industry, as you know, is extremely dynamic. There's a lot of different directions that you could go from a culinary student. I'm really passionate about the mission of healthcare and taking care of sick individuals, and specifically in pediatrics, where you're taking care of sick kids and also their family. And I know the culinary students are very talented at Johnson & Wales and would love to see that talent applied to the healthcare industry.
Great. I'll take the opportunity to thank both of you, to thank the audience, and to thank the prospective student body that are watching this. And I will say this: I have an affinity for food, and it started a long time ago. It was a love I couldn't really shake, and I didn't know there was a bunch of options for me out there as far as where I wanted to study. When I came here, there's a long story of how I got to Johnson & Wales. So when I came here as a student, I found a place where people thought like me, people talked like me, they had the same passions, the same desires. That turned into one of a career that's so robust and so fulfilling in the world of food that I sometimes it's almost difficult. I have to kind of pinch myself, and it's difficult to even put into words because I never thought I could get to the places I am today, and to be working with folks like Shawn and doing such an collaborative and inclusive and just fun projects around food, and at the same time helping people. This place is different. Johnson & Wales is just a different place. We have it's just a community of food professionals that span markets, that span different sectors, and it's an encyclopedia of knowledge that I get to work around every single day. Again, it's my alma mater, but it's my place of employment, and it has been just the most incredible 25 years. And if food is what you love, and if you have that passion, it may not be, you might just like to cook, it might be a hobby, You may want to do things like help, sick folks and especially, pediatrics. And you think about how we can help people through food. Food is the one thing that we all do. It's the one thing that links us all together as humans. So if that's a passion of yours and that's what you love to do, then Johnson, well, there's no other choice. That we have that here for you. We have a program, take a deeper dive into our catalogs and what programs we have. Call us, set up a meeting, come in for lunch. I would love to show you around because this place is so special to me. I know it's special to Shawn. And this is a project that's going to keep going and keep going. And there's so many analogs to what we're doing with children's. And it's just a unique place. So if you have interest, reach out to admissions. They can put you in contact with me. You can reach out to me directly. But again, it's different here at Johnson Wales. So come take a look for yourself.
Well, thank you. Well, we're gonna leave it at that. And certainly tease us with some of that information. But we're excited to bring you back for part 2 to talk about the developments of the kitchen tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. And we invite everyone to watch that segment. And to all of you exploring at home, stay tuned for our next video series. In the meantime, check us out online at jwu.edu to explore more. And thank you, Chef and Shawn, for joining us today. And we'll see you all soon.
All right.
Thanks again. Take care.
Bye-bye.